Hello, fellow survivors. This is mindlessbile playing the forest, now version 42, giving you a quick video on the updates that were added this time. We haven't had very much added in this update, but we did have a few neat things. We have 2 new cheat codes. We have now a regrow mode, in which the trees will grow back over time. I said about 10% of the trees will grow back each night when the player sleeps. And the only way to stop this from happening once the code is activated is to destroy the stumps of the trees. This way you can avoid the trees regrowing into your houses and destroying your structures or anything you have built. I think this is pretty neat. I mean, I've been rather pleased with opening up the areas and leaving things open for me, but I think a lot of people, especially on the multiplayer games, this will be useful because I see some pretty big structures on those games and they probably go through a lot of trees and it becomes a real pain in the ass having to branch out and get them, even with the ease of having multiple people collecting at the same time. They also added a new cheat code called wood paste. This is used to reset all the floor and roof holes in a saved game. Now it resets and turns itself back on after you go to the title screen, so it doesn't last for long, obviously, but it's enough to fix any mistakes you might have made. And it also says here that it does, when the code is activated, it does nothing for the multiplayer clients. So people who go on won't be able to do anything. They added a new pamphlet somewhere in the game. I haven't begun to look for it yet. I've been mostly doing my East Lake Village project, so I haven't had time to branch off and look through the caves or through the familiar sites to see this new pamphlet. At least I hope it's a new pamphlet and not just a new version of one of the old magazines or something like that, but it says pamphlet, so. They added a few things like the missing rabbit fur cost in the survival book. They have a new action for when you eat meat, which it's kind of neat. You know, it's, like I said, it's for immersive effect, and it adds to the game. Doesn't take nothing away. There will be a shot here eventually, if it did not already occur in the video that I'm showing you. And the one more thing we have here is they updated the poison effects for. They updated the poison effect for the arrow, so it actually seems to be more effective. It's supposed to slow the enemies down. Before, it just looked like it did a little bit of damage, and it still kind of seemed like it took them out the same amount of just what would have been non-plain arrows, would have took them down to kill them. And I have a little video here to show you how well that works, because it does work pretty well now. So we're going to cut to the video. Alright, earlier today I had a chance to test out the new poison arrow effects on the enemies. You have to bear with me, I'm not exactly great. Pretty sure I hit her on this first one here. Yeah, it's a definite hit. But it's supposed to slow down and be a little bit more sluggish. That first hit, I really don't notice much of anything. Yeah, I definitely hit her with that. Didn't miss her. I missed her with that shot, and that's a definite miss. The next shot, I actually land over here near these boulders. You'll actually see her turn a different color and start to noticeably slow down. And she goes over and clings to a tree, which also shows off the new nice effect that when you kill an enemy on a tree, they die and fall off of that tree. Alright, back to the rest of the video. Alright, moving on. They fixed a lot of things. The limbs being difficult to chop from dead bodies, and if the video makes it this far through my narration, you'll see that chop the head off pretty easily. Normally you have to kind of whack at it, and you end up chopping off half the arms and legs before you get the specific part that you want. I'm a little bit upset about this, but for the realism and the overall effect of the game, I'm glad they did fix it. At some point, birds, large groups of birds in fact, would start making small circles and just flying around over things, usually over one of my gardens or something like that. And I was kind of taking advantage of that to slaughter them and gain all kinds of feathers to make arrows without actually having to try to whack birds out of the sky or catch them when they're on the ground. And but they fixed that. I haven't seen it yet so far today, so it looks like they did a good job of that. They fixed the survival book, not mentioning the cost of for your bed. how much rabbit fur it costs. It costs 4 skins of rabbit fur, which is kind of annoying because you can only hold 3 in your inventory, so you have to go back out and kill 1 more rabbit to be able to complete the bed. But that's updated in the book, which, by the way, the book is looking nicer and nicer. I don't really understand what this means. I'm going to read it word for word here off of their thing, but it seems to affect buildings that were already in place before this. If you continue your saves over, like I do, I believe I'm on day 80 something at this point. But here's what it says. It says they fixed the extremities of a foundation's floor not perfectly overlapping the area, eventually causing foundation to be visible on the sides. Also fixes some weirdness with holes on sides of floors and roofs not perfectly conforming with whole area. And here's where it says might have an impact on look of previously made buildings or holes. And I've noticed no changes in any of my stuff, and I have plenty of holes putting staircases and doors, and I have noticed nothing amiss. They fixed the gap between roof and walls, and I don't know, I just made a building today. It doesn't seem like it's that much better. Not only would I like it to look a little bit better, but I'd like them to fill in the triangle with wood so it just doesn't look like some wide open. I don't know, it still looks a little bit hokey. One of the only things that looks hokey in the game. I mean, I've been pleased with the overall look of the game, but the way the roof system works and the custom roof system works, I don't know if it's just me, but it just doesn't work as well as it could. I'm sure it's a difficult thing to do. They fixed the jumping axe attack, sometimes not registering hits on enemies. I managed to do this in this video with a rabbit. It worked pretty well, I gotta say. I mean, it conked him right on the head with my club. And I look forward to trying to do it more on enemies. I've always kind of missed. I just kind of assumed that I sucked and that I wasn't doing it. But it seems like maybe there was a problem. They've fixed the repaired fish trap, turning back into a rabbit trap, therefore being useless in the water. I've yet to even try this. I completely forgot about this on the last update and didn't even get around to trying it, so I believe I will here soon. They fixed the pause menu not being visible on super wide monitors, which I don't have a super wide monitor, so I wouldn't even know. They fixed whenever you have too much animal skins, lizard skins, rabbit skins in your thing, and you pick up a new one, it just kind of disappeared. Now a new one drops in its place, so you can come and pick it back up later. And they fixed mud spawning underwater after rain instead of everywhere else, and a few waterfalls, missing flowing water, stuff like that. The tortoises now drop heads, but they still don't count them. They count. They also can be set on fire. When I believe on this video I set a alligator on fire, though it didn't seem to do much to him. Explosions seem to be the only thing that kills them. I've never been patient enough to try beating them to death with anything. They fixed a bug whenever you tried to load a saved game without having a plane axe in your inventory, causing both inventory and book to be impossible to open. I've never not grabbed a plane axe. I mean, I consider it one of the most useful combat weapons until you more or less get your katana. It's the modern axe. You kind of got to learn the trick to using it in combat, since they've changed it and made it a little bit more bulkier and harder to use, and the enemies have a good bit faster since when I first started playing. And another one here, they fixed small crafting ingredients such as teeth below the crafting cog to not be reachable when the crafting cog is hidden. I don't know if they quite worded that right or if I'm not understanding it, but I think they mean when the icon, the cog icon is up and obscuring the teeth, and the teeth not being able to point them on them with the mouse. And they fixed the FPS rate lowering whenever the survival book was open. And I never noticed that anyway, so people who put that up on their screen might have noticed it. Now they did a few tweaking on the enemies. One which you have obviously seen during the video with the poison arrows. Enemies killed in trees will now fall to the ground, which I think is pretty cool. Enemies will now die when falling from a great height. I never really checked. I just kind of assumed that they did die, so it's cool that they do, because normally it's a great enough height that I'm not going down, or the game ain't rendering far enough for me to see what happened to them anyways. They said, which is another cool thing, enemies will now attempt to jump onto structures built low to the ground to get to the player. I like that, instead of just running around and making noises and trying to entice me to stupidly come out. So far, the best way to get me to come out is to try to destroy my structures, because I get pretty pissed about that. Something about fixed enemies, sometimes able to kill players who are in a down state. I believe that has something to do with multiplayer, though it doesn't specify. Not sure what that means since I don't play multiplayer. And they said enemies will interact more with dynamic objects in the environment, which always adds to the effect of the game of your choices and actions after actually affecting the enemies, which I've already said in the before videos, because my cutting down the trees makes the visibility range much farther for me to be able to spot them and them to be able to spot me. Now, a few notes on the buildings and crafting. This is makes me very happy. You can now load the log sled with sticks, up to 58 sticks. Oh, that's wonderful. I love railings, I really do. And now that I can carry 58 sticks instead of the 10, I mean, that's great. It also says when sled is empty, hold a rock or stick to place to first, and thus select the carried item type. So that means you can also do rocks. They don't give a number on how many rocks you can carry, but people who like the rock fence, which is another thing I like, or I always wondered if you can stack one on top of each other to make stone walls around wood walls, give it more of a castle-y look. But anyone who likes to do things with the stone walls or the rock pathways will be very happy with this. Another one here that I really don't understand. There's two about the steps. I'm just going to read them straight out. I really don't understand. It says shorten minimum stairs locking length down to the minimum technically possible length with current formula. Not quite sure what that means. The next one is downward stairs in parentheses. Place first point up, then aim down, end parentheses. Now skips the platform part on the first chunk if locked shorter than the regular minimum length. Another thing that's kind of cool but kind of annoying, all the traps, deadfall, happy birthday trap, swinging rock, noose, rabbit, and fish traps now cost 1 stick to reset. It's kind of neat, adding to the realism of it, and, making your supplies, actually using them after you get pre-set up. There's another one I really don't understand. Ghost foundations can now be snapped back at the first lock point regardless of what height is currently aimed at. And you can now use the roof hole cutter. Now allows cutting several holes aligned with each other without completely cutting the roof in between the holes, so maybe make like skylights or something. And it says upgrade recipes now show the second filling cog when there's at least 2 different ingredients on the map. We got a bunch of multiplayer things as always. I'm going to go through them quick because, like I said, I'm not a multiplayer gamer and was never really much into that. I would like to play for the forest at one point because, like I said, just like in real life, the ease of surviving with numbers as opposed to one is always easier, and just the thought of having a bunch of people helping me gather supplies for really big and cool creative projects, plus with their input and outlet, would be pretty neat. But what do we got here? They fixed client, not seeing host rope climb animation if loading a save game with no weapon equipped is fixed. Fixed syncing of Iron Forest mode, so clients no longer run distortion logic when it's enabled, which could cause clients to see highly distorted structures that will never be destroyed. They fixed ghost tree structures loading from a save game not getting removed if tree is cut down. Fixed remote player, plastic torch flashing when they enter the game. Fixed distortion of damage procedural abilities. Stalagmite destruction is now synced to nearby players. Roof hole cutter is now available in multiplayer, and clients cannot cut holes in Iron Forest mode to prevent griefing. Good thinking on their part. Fixed distant cut down trees not refreshed and showing billboards when late joining a game or joining a saved game. They fixed the survival book not having the correct texture for final book. Fixed bird on hand not appearing on other players. Fixed bow not being drawn back on other players. Light Molotov tutorial now gets hidden when opposing inventory or book. Fixed enemies tending to target host more than clients. That would be annoying. And fixed client unable to remove tree stumps when far away from host. And lightning getting stuck in the sky whenever the host is in a snow biome and client is not. They also, now for audio, they only got one note. They fixed some environment sound effects like waterfalls not working after a saved game. And now there's just a few more miscellaneous things to wrap up here, a few little things. They say when a bush is burning, its remaining berries are now removed, which is kind of neat. There's no longer to place bombs when in range of an interacting trigger, such as a save trigger from shelters, to avoid blowing yourself up when trying to save with C, whilst also holding a bomb. And they improved the raft buoyancy settings should prevent it not from properly unlocking driver when leaving water. I've never had any problems with that, so I'm not really sure what that means. But that about wraps it up for these current batch of changes. Once again, this is Mindless Bile. Please leave any comments if you would like, and subscribe or hit the like button. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you again next time.